Hello, everyone. My name is Rephael Berkooz, and I'm so excited to be here today presenting on my IS. In this culminating project in my mathematics major, I created new methods for understanding and discovering music. So my journey to this IS project began when I was casually listening to music on Spotify. I came across a song that I absolutely loved, but it was new for me. It was outside of my usual genres of music. And all the similar music that was recommended to me, they didn't have the same baseline. It didn't have really what drew me to the song in the first place. So I was curious, and I did some research on how these larger musical platforms recommend music to users. And so there's a number of methods and ways of incorporating different information into these algorithms, all focused around giving different measures of recommendation performance. But for me, these recommendation systems, while they might have some good measure of performance, they failed to capture the aspects of music that I really enjoyed about this one song. And so I saw a huge opportunity for improvement here, and I began exploring different methods for breaking down and understanding songs, with the goal of creating a system to recommend music that's more aligned with what we hear and what we like in music. And so this led me to essentially the core question, the fundamental inquiry of my project. How can we program computers to listen to and appreciate music in the same way that we do? And so on my journey of understanding this human to computer musical interface, I started by exploring the fundamental mechanics of sound. Interpreted literally, sound is the result of displacement of air as perceived by our ears, where compressed or expanded air propagates from the source to whoever is listening. And so this definition doesn't really capture any aspect of beauty in music. So building things up a little bit more, the things that sound good in music are usually made up of specific notes, which are very nice vibrations in the air, best described as pure frequencies. So using a specific number, it corresponds to a number of oscillations in the air per second, and that gives us a nice frequency. And so our human notion of harmony is created by combining these pure frequencies into a more complex sound. Here, we have a very nice shape, which is the resulting combination of our two pure frequencies. With a nice shape like this, we've actually created an octave harmony. This is what it looks like. However, this frequency description of sound, it still doesn't exactly line up with how we hear music. Since a single note or harmony is just one of these frequencies, what we are actually hearing is a series of these frequencies played one at a time in order. So instead of one continuous frequency, we actually hear a lot of very small packets of these frequencies. So translating this human notion to the digital world was a big challenge for me. There's something intangible about music and art as a whole, but I did have to start somewhere. So with computer technology, on the most basic level, we are essentially storing continuous sounds as ones and zeros. So music is stored as air pressure information at very small increments of time, known as samples. Now here's where the math comes in. Since we have air pressure values that change over time, we can essentially represent songs as a function, with the variable being time. So this opens up a lot of mathematical tools for use in bridging the gap between the human and computer understanding of music. So in this representation, we can use a method called Fourier transform to break down songs. So thinking back to the pure notes, remember that we can make any note and any musical structure from simple pure frequencies. With the Fourier transform, we're essentially breaking down a song into its pure frequencies. Let's look at a visualization for a better understanding. So here we have this kind of irregular repeating wave. And so the Fourier transform breaks it down into the waves you see here, represented by these wave functions, sine and cosine. And so this gives us a new way of understanding music, a new format to encode the information that is music. So instead of having information over time, we actually have a combination of frequencies. It's frequency-based information. So the Fourier transform is a really powerful technique, but it's not perfect for our uses. So with the original song, all of the information that tells us the sound is encoded as a function over time. With the Fourier transform of the song, all of the information is encoded as a set of frequencies that do not depend on time at all. So essentially, we have two formats, one with only time information and one with only frequency information. And still, neither of these formats line up with our previously mentioned understanding of how we hear music. So this is kind of the culminating mathematical solution to representing digital music more closely to our human understanding. It's called wavelet analysis. So instead of breaking down a song into infinite repeating frequencies that go on over all time, we can just look at individual frequencies at specific locations in time. This mathematical representation is essentially the same way that we hear music, as little pieces or wavelets of music that occur in some special sequence. So the math behind wavelet analysis uses a method called convolution to extract information into our way of understanding. This is essentially a magical multiplication function where you take two functions, multiply them together, and you get a measure of how similar two functions are depending on a displacement in time. And so as you can see in the visualization, we are convolving a song with a wavelet, which tells us how much of the wavelet and its respective frequency occur at each point in time. This gives us frequencies localized in time. It's a combination of time and frequency information. So on top of its use in wavelet analysis, we use convolutions and its close relatives, cross and autocorrelation, to extract features from music as we would hear it. So much of my research was spent coming up with methods on how to use convolutions in new ways with our music. By convolving a song with itself, we can get a sense of rhythm and the length of individual features, such as drum beats. So here we have the extracted rhythm of one drum beat in a song as wavelet coefficients for one frequency. And by convolving a song with a beat, we can get a sense of the beat structure and the feature location. So by combining these measures of similarities between songs and the musical components that make them, we can effectively say how similar songs are from one another according to these components. And so my IS concludes essentially with a proposed system for recommending music based upon rhythm and drum beat. And so this could also be applied to any repeating components of music, such as melody or bass line, with the right feature extraction tools. So this opens up the theoretical possibility of a recommendation engine, which, when given a song, can give you songs that are similar in specific ways, such as songs that have a similar beat or songs that have a similar bass line. And so while this isn't a complete product yet, I believe that I've contributed to improving this interface between human and digital music. So this project was such an amazing experience for me. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn about it with me. Have a great day.